Hello everyone, welcome back to more kegs. My name is Rooster and let's have a chat about some new cards, shall we? Or some changed cards actually. Nothing worth discussing here, I'm afraid, but Scorch is looking pretty good in the upcoming patch, by the way. I'm pretty excited to play that card again because it was pretty sweet. There's no real reason to take it here, but I'm going to anyway. Because it doesn't really matter. So I've taken a quick look at the collection and we've got most of the commons sorted out at this point. There's one common that I'm still looking for from Nilfgaard and a couple of rares. There's probably a bunch of rares that I still don't have all of the available copies of, but that's hard to hard to do right away. I think it'll take a bunch of more kegs even after we're done today, but that's not the worst thing ever. We've got the most important cards, I think. Would like to open some harpies, I guess. So Marjoram, reportedly, we should probably check that out, but Marjoram is now only a +3 or -3, so that's pretty relevant. Now we've got an epic, which we all already have. Well, that happens sometimes, and the more cards you have, the more often that's gonna happen. So let's take Priscilla because I like her. And it's going to be... is it 50 scraps for an epic? I think it's 50 scraps, right. So Shoop, whenever you are ready, we can continue. That'd be great. One thing of note is random tokens from the monster faction, like the 2 lesser golems from the golem, are now fleeting. So that's worth mentioning, I think. So that means that you're not going to take them anymore. Did this card change? No, it didn't. No, well, it's Citro now, but that's not all that important. Besides from just in general the lack of agility on Scoia'tael units right now. I was talking about something else, and I kind of forgot already. Oh. My memory is really foggy here today. Anyway, an ambassador, alright. Well, so we've got a full set of those. And it's a pretty good card, so not unhappy with that. I'm wondering how good all these disloyal units will turn out to be. I really wonder about that. Anything else? The Riot Officer, of course, changed, but that's one of the bronze units that was used the least, I think. It was in the Scoia'tael starter deck, and that's pretty much everything. Did we still need an emissary? We might have. We might, actually. And another epic. Ooh, Jennifer the Conjurer is pretty ridiculous right now, so pretty happy to see her. Vess also gained a strength increase, so a little more resilient. Of course, the main problem with Vess was that she died to Marjoram, and with Marjoram nerfed and Vess buffed, well, one of those didn't need to happen, perhaps, but, well, probably both. Probably both of them were pretty needed. So Vess looking pretty good. But Jennifer 7 strength now, and no longer removes strength from your own units. So she is pretty much considered to be one of the better cards in this patch. So pretty happy to open her. Caranthir reduced to 6 strength, but still very much useful. So definitely recommend it if you're looking for an epic card to craft for your monster deck. But happy to find Jennifer, certainly. Can we get some harpies here? We cannot, unfortunately. Archgriven, now 6 strength. Pretty good. And a legendary card, and we get Philippa. Well, she could be good. She was borderline playable right at the end of the last patch cycle. If you're running into a lot of Skellige with the Citro stack, then you could definitely make Philippa work, I think. It's just that she's really weak when she's really weak, and that's kind of her downside. Clindeman Pirates Captain, no longer weather immune, unfortunately. But could still be decently strong. Gain a little bit of strength boost. Not sure I really wonder about the new gold card for Skellige, whether it's worth using. It probably isn't, to be completely fair, but it does have some interesting discard synergy with all the pirates you can create with that one. What else do we have here? Nothing too particularly interesting. We've talked about most of these cards, right? Promote. Northern Realms might actually go towards a more promote-focused deck. We could see some Hansel decks, because I've run into a lot of those lately, even. Mostly because it's something different on ladder, I guess, so people are just excited to try something new. But it could actually be a thing. Emperor Enforcers, last one, alright. So 20-ish more kegs. This font is really hard to read. So we're 2/3 of the way in. That's fine. We get the last Dolblathana Marksman. Yeah, I don't really think I need any Swallow Potions right now, so I would rather not have to craft a third. Would you play 3 copies of a Dolblathana Marksman, though? I don't think that's particularly worth. It's just a little too risky, I guess, but I could probably see that happening. It's tricky. I don't know how many 10 strength units we'll see in the coming in the time to come. As usual, you shouldn't pick the alternate art from the cards that you already own, because well, you'll have to mill those cards manually. So it's just going to be annoying, because you really don't need any additional copies besides from the 3 different art styles, but we got a Svandrige. Unfortunately, no changes to him. I don't think he's particularly worth using right now, and that sucks. It's a shame. That's the last art for the Shield Maiden, so we got 3 of those now. That's excellent. And we'll see if there's anything else exciting yet to come. Well, talk about exciting. More scraps. Isn't that exciting? Indeed. And premium Swallow Potions, alright. I do hope I can still pick up a premium Dimeration Bomb, although I guess they will be coming for quite some time to come, so even if I don't get one today, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't, but I also wouldn't really lose any sleep over that. Stemmelfort, by the way, also changed. I should probably mention that. Removes 2 strength from all opposing units and only 1 strength from yours. Does that make the card playable? I don't know, but it's definitely interesting and a thing to keep in mind, especially in Skellige wounding decks. We haven't seen an Axeman yet, and I should really zoom in on that one, because that card is pretty exciting right now. Don't pick the alternate art of these. Just don't. Save yourself the trouble of having to scrap all of those. The commons you can't really prevent, but the rares, well, might as well save yourself some clicks and not pick them, right? Nilfgaardian Knights. This card, I'm excited about this card. Revealing some information to your opponent and then gaining a benefit out of it, like a really strong unit, that it could be really interesting. I like the mind games that go into revealing cards to your opponent. I'm curious to see how that will turn out. Hey, actually, I was wondering about the Clan Heme Skald, because I thought that most factions would have a unit that buffs the other units on the row by now. But I thought in the other factions those were 5 strength units, and the Skald is now a 4. So I'm kind of curious about that. There's the last Swallow Potion, alright. So we got 3 premiums of those anyway. Premiums, by the way, still do not scrap for additional scraps. They do not mill for additional scraps. And that is intentional, because CD Projekt Red actually wants people to use their fancy new premiums. And, well, as often is the case, people will just scrap their premiums if they get even a marginal benefit out of them. And I'm pretty happy with that situation. I've been using my premium Herald and my premium... Well, I haven't really used Athene that much, but I've used Herald a lot. And I have a premium Nilfgaard that I'm certainly not unhappy to use. Anything third Rod Tosser, I think it is. So, got a full set of those also. I think that's most of... But there's still one Nilfgaard common that we haven't seen yet. That's actually... Well, that's how RNG works, of course. That's the curse of collectible card games. Archers, by the way, that's quite a big change. They used to be 2 strength and then removes 5 strength. So the sum, of course, is better than it was before, but only dealing 3 damage. Well, it's a basic unit now. So that's kind of okay. It's the same as the other units from the other factions that removed 3 strength. But the archers always felt a little unique, so I don't know how I feel about this change. It kind of removes the unique aspect of the archers for being able to deal some big damage, and also the nice synergy with Blue Mountain Commando becoming a 9 strength play. But overall, Archer's not looking too awful, so can't really complain. Anything good over here? Field Medic, pretty big change there. Now only resurrects random bronze permadeath units, non-permadeath units. Also, only 2 strength now, so that is quite the difference. I'm not sure. Well, most Northern Realms decks will probably still include their field. Ooh, hello. We already have an Avalach, unfortunately, so that's just going to be 200 scrap. Still nothing to scoff at, of course. And what do we have here? More cards that we already have. That's a common curse. I was hoping to find a Succubus here there, or Imlerith, or what other monster legendaries are there? It's hard to remember stuff like that. Alright. Oh, and some new cards. I am taking the leader, because I'm not really that excited about Champion of Champions still, even though he does gain 2 base strength, so if you can resurrect him later, then he's going to be a lot more impressive. I don't think it makes him usable, or worth putting a lot of effort into, but it's a thing. He gains base strength, so if he dies, and he tends to die a lot, then at least you can get him back at the strength he used to be at, so that's something. But more from Voorhees, look at the top 3 cards in your deck and play 1. I think he used to search your deck for a disloyal unit and then play it, so it's curious to see how they changed it and why they changed it. Probably because the ability was just a little too strong as it used to be, but this is also quite interesting, I think. Really helps you, especially in the later game, and might also synergize nicely with the resetting of faction powers, because this is always going to be useful, and many faction powers really are not. Spawning 2 Eridans could be odd. Although I guess if you're playing Eridan and your opponent is 2, then there would already be 2 Eridans on the board. Still, it feels odd to me. But yeah, more fun looking exciting. Certainly. Alright, just a few more kegs to go, and then we'll take a quick look at the collection. Still haven't seen another Harpy, so that's something I thought was worth mentioning. I would really like to talk about that one. Last Siege Expert, alright. Appreciate that. There's always a couple of cards that you're just going to end up with, or actually end up without. Just that last final common that you're struggling to find a copy of. Were these changed? Yeah, they were. They were buffed to 4 strength. That's actually interesting. So they don't instantly die to Lacerate anymore. I can't believe I missed that the first time around. Oh, that makes Henselt even better, because one of the main counters to the Henselt promote deck was that you can kill their siege towers relatively easily, but no longer so. So that's exciting. Dimeritium Shackles, no changes. I was half and half expecting this to also apply a lock to the creature, but that hasn't been the case. It's curious. I don't think this card is very good anymore, especially with the inclusion of what's the dwarf called again? Cleaver. Cleaver looks pretty sweet. Although, of course, Shackles and locking are totally different mechanics, but yeah, I don't know. Shackles look unimpressive right now. Yep, and we got another Siege Expert regardless. Dolbathan Trapper, by the way. I think we've seen a couple of these, and I kind of skipped past it, but they have 4 strength right now. So a bit more strength that you're giving to your opponent. You can also place her on your own row, it seems, but that's probably a really bad idea. And now removes 4 strength instead of 5. So apparently the card was kind of oppressive in some way. I can't say I really agree, but the developers must have some information on that card that we seem to be lacking. There's the Harpy I wanted to talk about. So this Seleno Harpy transforms all of the unhatched eggs that you might still have from your other Harpy cards. It transforms them into Harpies. They did not spawn any additional eggs anymore, but in case that you're not that you don't have any cards that want to absorb the eggs anymore, you can just hatch the eggs instead, and then those Harpies gain 2 additional strength, so they become 5s, and the Seleno Harpy becomes a 5 herself, most likely because she'll hatch 2 additional eggs. Or perhaps if you've played multiple Harpies before, then she becomes a little bigger, and all those eggs become 5 strength Harpies. So that's pretty good. That can really work. But you probably might also make a case for just spawning the eggs and intending to eat them with your other units. So curious to see how that will turn out. Consume monsters, definitely another archetype that's worth exploring in my opinion. So what else do we have? There's a lot of the same cards coming by, of course, but that's business as usual. And we've talked about most of these. I'm curious when the final Nilfgaard common that I still need is going to show up. But perhaps we won't even see it. That's just the way of life, I guess. We also haven't seen any golden commons yet, which is also interesting. Vachier the Rideau. Reveal up to 2 cards in your hand. Oh, this is a nice one. I'll take that over a Frightener any day, sure. So Frightener is still not very interesting, and this is a pretty decent dude for the reveal archetype. So we could very well try that out in an Emir deck. So that can definitely work. And is also worth trying. Ooh, another epic, and we're getting a Hansel. So I might have actually wanted to craft a Hansel because that looks like an archetype that's worth exploring pretty soon. And that was all the kegs. Wow, 68 of them. So let's see where we're at in terms of collection right now. 224. I don't really remember where I was before. I probably should have checked, or perhaps we can still see that. Almost 2,000 additional scraps, so that should be enough for about 7 legendary cards. That's a lot, actually. Wow. Let's go filter and see what we've missed most of all. Any commons? Yes. So the Alba Spearmen still don't have any copies of those. That's interesting. I think they used to muster each other out of the deck and had any synergy with revealing cards. So for every card that you could see in your opponent's hand, they would muster another copy of themselves from your deck. But that's probably was a little bit too much or something, because that ability was entirely removed, and it now gains a shield protecting them from a strength removing effect. So basically quenning themselves. I'm not really sure about that. It's basically a weather immune unit in the ranged row, I guess. It's also resilient to removal, but usually removal is not really used that often on a unit without any special abilities. Although I guess they do make for a pretty good target of the ambassador. They give a random friendly minion plus 12 strength, so that could be nice. What else should we talk about? Still missing a shieldsmith, but that's not that important. I don't think this is a card you would likely include 3 of in your deck. Although compared to longsmiths, if you're looking for a target to buff, then the armorsmith is also not a bad target. Especially since you can resurrect him into weather, and then I don't think he restores the strength on the priestess you resurrect him with, but he does restore the entirety of the rest of the row, so that's still pretty good, I'd say. Anything else worth talking about? Oh, we should probably check out the cow carcass over here after 2 turns, but you should keep in mind that after 2 turns means that immediately when you give the turn to your opponent, then it's going to take down already. So basically your opponent has 1 action to react to this. Any other commons worth talking about? Well, of course we do have a lot of alternate art ones that I could probably scrap if I really needed to. We've talked about poor infantry already, not that much anymore. Probably filter for bronze first. Oh, I can already see 1 card that is probably good to give a little bit of a shout out to. Fire Scorpions, well, you don't really need 3 of them anyway. Anything else? Mangonels, not a single one. That is actually curious, I think. So removes 2 strength whenever a card in either hand is revealed. So this can really start ticking, especially when Emir reveals 3. That means the Mangonel deals 6 damage to your opponent's board. Pretty relevant, I'd say. Oh, and also I was going to point out the X-Men, so I should probably go and see whether that's somewhere around here. Is that a common? That might actually be a common. Or perhaps I should just filter and take a look. So the X-Men here not only got a bit of a strength buff, I think he used to be 2 strength before, but now gains 1 strength whenever another unit anywhere is weakened. So not just your own Skellige units, but also your opponent's units. So when you use Herald on a full opponent's board, then this guy is going to be quite ridiculous, and also using weather on a lot of eligible targets. That's a pretty big one. The Heime Skald is a bit curious, although I guess, I guess that's not a thing that is completely the same across every single faction. I thought it might have been, but I guess it's not. The Northern Realms, of course, have the siege support. It's not all the same. The one in Nilfgaard is just slightly better. Any other rares that I needed to talk about? I don't think so. Monster Nest. Oh, that is a good one actually. Now spawns 3 base copies of any 1 breedable unit on your side. So no longer copies every single breedable unit, but it spawns 3 base copies of a specific one, and that can be better. It can be worse. It is better if if you don't already have a big board. So I guess it makes the monster breeding archetype a little less all in, because they really wanted to use their monster nests when they've built a really big board, so they can build it into an even bigger board. And now they can just use it on a single harpy egg and still be happy with themselves. Gwent also changed. So you can now choose a non-gold unit in your hand, and then it gives a shield to that unit and every single instance of it in your hand and in your deck. So that's pretty nice. You can preemptively give something a shield. So when you give the turn to your opponent, they cannot just remove the unit in anticipation of you using Gwent on it. So I like that change. Also worth talking about, Vicovaro Medic. definitely worth mentioning, I think. Often dubbed the Bronze Caretaker, people have been really worried about this card. Mostly graveyard-focused decks might be really scared about all their valuable resurrection targets getting stolen by the Nilfgaard dude. I think Nilfgaard is mostly going to want to use his Vico of Aromatics on his own disloyal units, though, because most likely whatever your opponent has in their graveyards that they want to resurrect, it's not really going to reach its full potential unless you really deny every single target from your opponent. And that's not going to happen a lot, I think. So, and besides that, the thing you're going to resurrect is probably less useful to you than anything you can just reanimate with a, well, than just resurrecting an emissary or an ambassador, I think. But I could be wrong about that, of course, but that's just the way I see Vico Aromatic. It's good if you're running either one of these guys, because those are going to be your main targets. But we'll have to see whether it's really as bad as people make it out to be. Savage Bear is looking pretty good, by the way, not really worth zooming in too much. Yeah, that is it for rares for now. I think that is it. That is going to be it for our chit chat for now. I'm going to experiment with decks a little bit, and I will see you again in another video where we can hopefully examine some of the new deck archetypes and try something new. I'm excited. Hope to see you soon. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.